At age 10, Alexis Spence used her first iPad to play with virtual stuffed animals. A year later, kids at school teased her for the games, pressuring her to join Instagram. She bypassed her parents' screen time rules by hiding the app under a calculator icon, and what started out as a colorful way to connect quickly warped into a dark, highly optimized feed. Within 6 months, the content the algorithm selected for an 11-year-old girl morphed from an initial interest in fitness to a stream of idealized models, to extreme dieting advice, and finally, explicit pro-anorexia content. By 8th grade, Alexis was hospitalized for depression. 5 months after opening her account, she drew this picture. It shows a girl isolated in a corner, connected only to a charger, surrounded by thought bubbles filled with words like worthless, ugly, and kill yourself. Her rapid psychological decline demonstrates the predictable outcome of an architecture built to exploit human vulnerabilities. For years, skeptics argued that technology use was a harmless correlation, claiming the link to poor mental health was no more dangerous than eating potatoes. This chart from the UK's Millennium Cohort Study isolates social media specifically. As daily usage increases, the rates of clinically significant depression diverge sharply. A girl spending 5 or more hours a day on these platforms is 3 times as likely to be depressed. This chart tracks high school students spending over 40 hours a week on social media, the equivalent of a full-time job. By 2015, the data shows that 1 in 7 American girls had reached this extreme threshold. Mapping these massive usage rates against mental health records identifies social media as the primary cause of the generationalized psychological collapse that began in the early 2010s. To understand why the data skews so heavily toward one gender, we have to look at 2 underlying social motivations: agency and communion. Agency refers to the drive to expand the self, demonstrate competence, and build individual skills. Traditionally, boys lean more heavily into this drive, the exact psychological mechanism targeted by competitive video games. Communion is the drive to integrate into a larger social unit through relationships, empathy, and cooperation. It is a motivation to prioritize social bonds, and it is the primary way adolescent girls define their social standing. Visual platforms like Instagram offer what looks like an instantaneous way to satisfy that need for connection. In reality, their architecture hijacks the drive for communion and weaponizes it for engagement. We all possess an internal subconscious gauge known as a sociometer. It constantly measures your local prestige and status on a scale from 0 to 100. This chart shows the percentage of high school seniors satisfied with themselves. In 2012, Rita smartphones gave teenagers constant access to edited highlight reels and beauty filters. The female sociometer crashed. When subjected to hundreds of digitally perfected standards every day, her internal gauge plummets because she perceives herself as falling far below the average. Researchers in France tested this by flashing images of idealized models at young women for just 20 milliseconds, too fast for the brain to consciously register seeing them. Even without conscious awareness, the women's anxiety about their own bodies spiked. Because this social comparison happens outside of conscious awareness, reminding a teenager that social media isn't real offers no protection. The part of the brain recalculating social survival is not governed by logic. Conflict also takes a different shape by gender. While male aggression is often physical, female aggression is frequently relational, the use of gossip, exclusion, and reputational damage to lower a rival's status. Before smartphones, that bullying stopped at the edge of the schoolyard. Today, anonymous tagging and constant group chats remove physical boundaries. Relational aggression now follows a teenager into her bedroom 24 hours a day. This connectivity fuels emotional contagion. When a woman becomes depressed, the odds of depression in her close friends increase by 142%. Algorithms supercharge this natural spread. By identifying users engaging with anxious content, the system relentlessly serves them darker, more extreme material. The tech industry successfully digitized and scaled the most painful aspects of adolescent female social dynamics for profit. The reach of this architecture creates a group-level effect. Students spend unstructured time staring at screens instead of talking, which means they lose daily practice making eye contact and navigating real-world conversation. Because the physical culture of childhood has migrated online, logging off provides no easy escape. If an individual girl deletes the apps to avoid the algorithm, she faces immediate social ostracization. Today, Alexis Spence is 21 years old. She survived her years of hospitalization and now works as an emergency medical technician. But because of her algorithmic exposure during crucial developmental years, she still manages the eating disorders it triggered. Treating this as a problem of individual screen time misses the architecture of the system. You cannot fix an environmental toxin by asking teenagers to breathe less. Solving it requires a community-wide rewiring to reclaim childhood.